Hello and welcome to the Unseen Thread. My name is Jen and we're going to do a collective reading today and kind of feel out the energies. So today's message is about musical deliveries. So lots of messages coming up in songs, specifically to the genre of like grunge rock. We have Sail by AWOL Nation was the header for this. In there, the lyrics, blame it on my ADD, baby. And along with that, the song Creep was coming up by Radiohead. I'm a creep, I'm a weirdo. So a lot of being one to stand out from a crowd, or perhaps one that's just not fitting in. Okay. And Spirit was bringing up about darker energies and expressions from darker energies, our own darker energy, and how it's bringing up heart chakra healing. So these songs, yeah, they're gritty, they're dirty, they're a little dark, but they have a lot of emotion in it and a lot of truth. Spirit is bringing up feeling in the dark. So most people, most artists, I would say, can empathize with being able to create from a very emotional place. You can write wonderful poetry when you're going through a sad time, and that to embrace when you're getting those sorrowful feelings, or maybe if you're feeling a little vengeful. I'm not condoning that. I'm just saying it's a really good place to create from. It was also bringing up This Is How an Angel Cries, which is also another lyric from Sail. So This Is How an Angel Cries reminded me of some lyrics from one of my personal favorite songs by Live called Lightning Crashes, talking about how the death of one is a birth of another, and then vice versa. So Spirit was bringing up last push and then death to birth, or perhaps a rebirth. And then animal symbology was also coming up. So you can look for signs of a phoenix, a dandelion, cats and dogs, spirits noting that cats and dogs symbolism together. So not like a cat by itself or a dog by itself, but something about seeing the dog and the cat together will be a message for somebody. I was also getting persevere, and they wanted me to write it this way. And then the room. So if there's something about a room, perhaps if you think the room is empty, it's not. They say freak when you're singled out. And Spirit suggesting this lyric, suggesting community. So are you a freak when you're singled out? Well, what if you are a freak amongst many freaks? So they're pointing that out. So it's suggesting community. And then another lyric here, this is from the song Read by Chevelle. When asked who made it show, the truth he gives into most. And then I was getting the message about recognizing pings and using discernment. Now, when I mean pings, I mean a synchronicity. When you notice a synchronicity, you kind of get a feeling like, oh my gosh, it's kind of this ethereal knowing to note that. So if you see something that kind of stands out, sticks out to you, I do what's called put it on the shelf. Kind of like, okay, that kind of, anybody else could look at that and would think, okay, that's something very normal and not note it. However, when I look at that, it gives me a feeling that it needs to be noted. And that's what I would call following my intuition and noting something, okay? So when you get that ping, that feeling of intuition, when you see something or experience something or hear something, is it actually intuition? Is it an ego or preference? So this could be something that is wanted, or you have a biased reason for noting it. Let's just say like you and somebody broke up and you want to get back together with them. There is no concrete evidence that they want to get back together with you, but yet you'll see signs of them everywhere. So it's really convincing yourself, oh my gosh, it must be the synchronicity because of blah, blah, blah. No, a lot of that is the ego. Okay. Yes, it's coming up for some reason, but does that mean you should be back with that person? Not necessarily. It means there's something from that that needs to be looked at again, and to use your discernment with it. Okay, and that can go for not just relationships, but things we want that maybe aren't necessarily meant for us. And just put it on the shelf, because you will figure it out eventually. But we don't want to act on it. So this is kind of when you're having like an altered state, or if you are kind of having a consciousness expansion, it can be a little disorienting. You can be somebody who's not used to recognizing synchronicities or experiencing synchronicities. Okay, so we don't always want to act right off of them. You know, things do come up for us to note, but not everything requires an action. Sometimes we just, well, most of the time we want to be in an observation state where we can kind of see all the synchronicities and how one thing affects another, but it doesn't require action. Okay, and a lot of times when you are noticing a pattern, we'll call it a pattern, in the universe, there are patterns, that the universe is a pattern. Okay, most people do not recognize that. If you do have the eyes to see that, it is a beautiful thing. You will also shortly notice if you start to express that to people or start to act on things that you're seeing in a pattern, people may think you're schizophrenic. So we'll put it that way. Yes, it's true. The universe has patterns. It does not always mean that there is an action required. I was getting The Man Who Sold the World, and that song is by Nirvana. And in it, that lyric, "Oh no, not me, I've never lost control," giving me a ping. It means something for somebody. That's great. If not, put it on the shelf. So what am I gathering from all this energy here? It's somebody who's carrying, could be dealing with somebody who's carrying some deflection, maybe not taking accountability, but they outcast themselves, or I think there's a lot of feeling of not being understood. And on the flip side of that, if somebody isn't appreciative of your whimsical qualities, take them to other people that are. And if you don't know anybody who would be appreciative of that or understand you or just appreciate your creativity, just hold on to it. Spirit's saying here, you'll find your community. But in that solace and in that misunderstanding, we learn to accept our own selves, that it's necessary to do that and to be comfortable with all of our aspects and to know that we have good intention. So that was coming up, and let's pull some cards on that. We have the cleaning house. And there is a cat in that picture there. See? We have the Ten of Wands, also a card of responsibility. So both of these, you know, are, you see they got cleaning house, you got the brooms there, and you've got this lady who, in the Ten of Wands, is bearing all the burdens, okay? So this is kind of a domestic energy, living alone. Both of them are very alone. Somebody's got a cat there. This is tending to your everyday rituals, your everyday responsibilities, maintaining your home. And then we have the Page of Swords, reading, writing. Kind of like put my foot in my mouth is kind of reminding me of that. Maybe not so much talking or socializing. This is more of a studying and intellect, doing things that stimulate your mind without necessarily having to be entertained by anybody outside of you. And then we have the Three of Cups. So this is kind of like maybe a night owl. A night owl. Sounds like that a bit too. Could be some time spent. Well, you know, I always like to do things at nighttime. Unfortunately, my schedule doesn't always allow for it. But to create art when the world is quiet and to read and write just allows you to kind of focus on your own thoughts and your own feelings and emotions and reflections. And then we have the Queen of Swords. She's the master of her own intellect. There is something noting here too about things that you do on your own, about perhaps it's time to, this Three of Cups is typically a community card and a group celebration. I don't even say like celebration. I don't feel there's anything actually, like there's no topic to celebrate, but this is kind of like the meeting house or a hub, places where there's more people at or a community at with similar interests, okay? And the Queen of Swords is bringing her Page of Swords. It's kind of like all her interests and things that she's studied. She's more the master of it now, and she knows it well enough to bring it to where there's a community at. The Queen of Swords doesn't get a lot of slack. It's kind of like she's so knowledgeable and so confident, nobody questions her. At least not in this community, okay? Outside of this, maybe. And then we have the Lovers. This is a shared interest here too. So it's like two people are doing the same thing. Two people learning to accept their odd personality or their more whimsical aspects of self. I don't mean odd to, I don't mean odd as in it doesn't belong or it's not good. I mean odd as in different from the status quo. Okay, so I'm getting there's two people doing this, who have something to do with each other. There's some kind of history here, if you will. Okay. So what would be the resolution here? We have the Five of Pentacles and the Ten of Swords. So leaving something behind in a final ending. It's like poverty and endings. It's very chaos energy, you know? I'm also getting like the Traveler has many endings. Lots of deaths and rebirths, if you will. It's like they got used to the endings. Perhaps this is being in a lot of people's lives for a very short period of time, never having that staying energy, you or them, never looking at a relationship and thinking that it's going to be long term. The Five of Swords and the Page of Pentacles. Yeah, so the Page is a very short term. It's a small offer, okay? And the Five of Swords is always, the Five of Swords has a very selfish energy to it that's needed sometimes. But if you're talking about in a relationship, it's like if you always show up with the Five of Swords and the Page of Pentacles, it's like, yeah, you'll do things for your own interest. And what you do offer somebody else, it's never anything for the long run. Why is that? Six of Wands. See, he's got that Traveler energy there too. Kind of got the hobo bag, you know? But Six of Wands is always a victory because you always win when you're by yourself. If you don't have to consider anybody else, and you're always, it's always a it's a win, but it's not, you can't celebrate it with anybody. Nobody would care because you stepped on them all to get there. And the Eight of Wands. It's a quick moving energy, you know? It's like, and you're out of here. A wise woman once said, "I'm out of here," and she lived happily ever after. But is that true, you know? That's some saying I saw. So. And then we have the Tower moment. So something's coming up right now where running isn't going to be possible for long. Or maybe what's been working for you your whole life, or whoever you're dealing with, something's turning that on its head. And what may that be? We have the Nine of Wands and the Strength. So you see she's being blocked from going anywhere. And she's being called to stay and be strong, or perhaps to fight something here. I don't feel it as physical. I feel like, you know, she's got the strength she needs to persevere in this situation, but she also has this boundary up. It's staying power. So something is coming through where what you didn't think was going to be permanent is becoming more solid. That's actually a really good sign there. So you have a strong boundary. Your boundaries are strong enough to persevere in this situation. There's something about it that you could see yourself staying, or this person can see themselves staying here, whether that's with you or a location. We have the Ten of Swords and the Seven of Cups. So it's like it's just an ending to all of the options. The options are ending. What is this going to bring in? Knight of Swords and the Hierophant. This is intelligence. It's not quite the King of Swords, but he's respected. And also the Hierophant is the spiritual, well, it's a spiritual teacher. But when I see the Hierophant, it's kind of like a divine, recognizing the divinity. It's like divine intellect. But the Knight of Swords is also a quick moving energy here too. So it's like moving quickly in a different direction, but one that you know is guided. How could it not be? There's so many signs. But we want to remember back to the original message about slowing down and recognizing the pings and using discernment. But this is when you know is intuition. That's the difference. That's what the difference is. You've discerned it and you know that this is your intuition here. You will be guided by your intuition. And look at, it's the Two of Cups. So it's like the Lovers have, so you have this Three of Cups here. And now you have the Lovers who have come together. They've both gone their separate ways. Learned what they needed to learn on the solo. And it seems like somebody is seeing the promise of a future with somebody or somewhere. There's something that has staying power here. So who caught the man who sold the world, I guess, you know? Some closing messages. a talisman, and rock bottom. And this looks just like the room. That's really interesting. So you have the room there, and then here. It's like when the bird flies and you know right where to go. She's kind of got that light there. It's like her intuition, you know. She's following her intuition. Where they are, where you are. The tea leaf here. We have the boat. There's also that sail energy there too. And the bridge. A bridge over troubled water. It's a bridge between two places. But if you're the boat, you're staying in the middle. So it's like a decision between two places is being made. We get one last card here, and we have summer. Summer energy. This is when there's new growth. Maybe what you didn't think was going to come back comes back. If it was always going to. But I recommend you listening to those songs, or whatever songs give you a ping, rather. Seems like that, you know, and we do listen to more music in the summer. Get-togethers and whatnot. Let's get a message from this book here, The Science of the Mind, A Philosophy, a Faith, and a Way of Life by Ernest Holmes. Okay, so we're going to read this here. Just randomly opened up to it. The power of the word. Be specific in treating. Be direct and definite in your mental work. You are dealing with intelligence, so deal with it intelligently. The treatment must realize the patient as perfect, must recognize the word as power, must know that it breaks down every man-made law and casts it out. That is the law of harmony and recognition of the presence of good. That within itself it is unbounded and equipped with the power to execute itself. And it must know that it does this. It must know that there is nothing that can change it, that there is no belief which can hinder it, that it cannot be reversed, misplaced, mislaid, neutralized, or destroyed by any opposite force. That it does the thing it is supposed to do, and it must know that it's continuous and unremitting and will operate until it does all it is supposed to do. Okay. I think with the closing message, you and somebody separated. There was a good reason for it. You had a lot of work on your own selves to do. And you are coming back for one reason or another. You will decide if that should be permanent or not. And recognize your pangs. Have a great day.